All right, today we're diving deep into Gen Z. They're the generation stepping into a future where, honestly, the rules for work, for money, even for reality itself are being rewritten in real time. And what's emerging is this fascinating and kind of confusing set of contradictions.
So what's really going on with Gen Z? Well, it all boils down to a series of paradoxes. I mean, think about it. They are the first true digital natives, born with a smartphone in hand, yet they've inherited some of the oldest, biggest analog problems, a shaky economy, a climate in crisis, and just deep, deep political division. So the big question is, are they being crushed by all of this, or are they adapting in ways we've never seen before?
Let's start with how they work. Get this, a whopping 57% of them have at least one side hustle. That's more than half. It's not just a thing they do, it's becoming a core part of their identity. But, and here's the first paradox hitting you right in the face, almost half of those same people, 44%, say they are completely burnt out because of it. So the very drive that's pushing them forward is also the thing that's wearing them down.
And that brings us to our first big idea, the hustle paradox. You've got soaring rent, crushing student loans, and jobs that just don't feel stable. So Gen Z has been forced to completely rethink what work even is. For them, that old school 9 to 5, it's often not even enough to survive, let alone get ahead.
Now what's really fascinating here is that it's not just about paying the bills. Yeah, financial security is the #1 reason, for sure. But look at this. A huge chunk are doing it for self-expression, to build new skills. They're literally turning their creativity into cash and their passion projects into their portfolios.
And this shows a massive shift between generations. For a lot of millennials, going freelance was this cool, romantic lifestyle choice. It was all about flexibility. For Gen Z, nah. It's way less of a choice and way more of a core survival strategy. The romance is gone. This is about necessity.
So you have to wonder, how on earth are they managing all this? Well, they're using technology to basically build a business of one. This has created something new, the AI solopreneur. This is one person running a whole operation, but their team isn't other people. It's a squad of AI bots and automation tools that lets them do the work of a much bigger company, all by themselves.
And the data totally backs this up. A huge 64% of Gen Z hustlers are using AI to scale up their work. And almost a quarter are already using generative AI for things like writing content or creating designs. See, they don't see AI as a threat that's going to take their job. They see it as a business partner that helps them create their job.
But of course, there's a dark side to monetizing everything. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. When every single hobby, everything you do for fun, suddenly has to make money, the joy can just get sucked right out of it. All that's left is the pressure to perform.
And that pressure leads us straight into our second paradox. How can the most digitally connected generation in all of human history also be facing such a profound mental health crisis? They are constantly connected through a screen, but so many of them report feeling incredibly isolated and anxious.
And this is not a small problem. Just let this number sink in for a second. 1 out of every 2 college students has felt anxiety so overwhelming that it's actually hurt their grades. This is a massive, widespread challenge, fueled by everything from the pressure of social media to just a deep uncertainty about what's coming next.
A huge piece of that uncertainty actually has a name: eco-anxiety. And this isn't just a passing thought. It's a chronic, persistent stress about the future of the planet that they're about to inherit. To them, climate change isn't some distant headline. It's the reality they live with every single day.
This quote is just stark. It comes from a major study of 10,000 young people, when more than half of them, 56%, agree with the statement, humanity is doomed. Well, that shows a level of despair that past generations just didn't have to deal with at this age.
And this graph explains everything. The Keeling curve isn't just data on a page. For Gen Z, this relentless, terrifying upward climb of CO2 is the literal atmosphere they've grown up in. It's a visual reminder of a crisis that's been escalating their entire lives.
So how in the world are you supposed to plan for a future when the very foundations of society feel unstable? This brings us to the future paradox. It's all about trying to navigate this deep, macro-level uncertainty, from the climate crisis to a totally polarized political world.
And look, this crisis didn't just pop up out of nowhere. This timeline shows the warnings go back over a century.
The key thing here is that Gen Z knows they didn't create this problem, but they also know they're the first generation that has to live with the full consequences of all those years of inaction.
And on top of all that, they're growing up in a digital world that is just flooded with misinformation, where it's incredibly hard to tell what's real and what's not. They're navigating online echo chambers and watching trust in the very institutions that are supposed to keep things stable just crumble. It's a really, really complicated world to get a clear view of.
So, after all that, it would be so easy to look at Gen Z and just see them as victims. But the more you look, the more you see that something else is happening. All of this chaos is actually forging an incredible resilience, creating what might just be the most adaptable generation we have ever seen.
This is where we have to finally toss out those tired old stereotypes. They're not lazy, they're juggling multiple income streams just to survive. They're not tech addicted, they're building entire businesses from their phones, they're teaching themselves new skills online, and they're using AI as a collaborator. They are, simply put, deeply, deeply resourceful.
And that resourcefulness has led them to build a whole new kind of survival kit for the modern world. It's got things like lifelong learning, AI literacy, digital hygiene, and financial fluency. And, maybe most important of all, a non-negotiable focus on emotional well-being. And here's the thing. These aren't just skills for Gen Z anymore. They are quickly becoming essential skills for all of us.
Which leaves us with one final big question to chew on. As the world keeps changing faster and faster, are these coping mechanisms and survival skills that Gen Z has been forced to develop, are they just a story about one generation? Or are we actually looking at the blueprint for how we all are going to have to live and work in the future?